Okay, I guess that should work. Yeah, so you said Chris, right?
Yeah.
So this is Chris. You already heard my question about what do you think happens after this life, and he says he has an interesting answer. So, yeah, I'll be curious.
After life, you're going to either go to hell or heaven.
Okay, yeah.
And some of these people ain't going to have the glory. They go up there and lay and have the Savior hold them. Because you're talking to, I used to be a meth addict.
Methodite?
I did meth.
Oh, meth.
Drugs.
Yeah.
And I knew it all, and how to do it all. I was in it for 10.5 years. The Lord saved me from it. I found the Lord, got away from it, and I'm going on 10 years clean, but I couldn't have done it without it.
So, did you have, Chris, did you have a church background growing up?
Yeah, I had church background growing up, but where a lot of people mess up, they raised in church, they're raised around it.
Yeah.
They be like I was. They knew how to get to heaven, going straight to hell.
Right.
Because unless you
just knowing it doesn't.
You can have what I call brain God. That's what I told my pastor, the one that I talked to about it.
Yeah.
And if you don't have them in your heart, you don't have anything in your heart.
Yeah.
You have nothing.
Yeah.
You just might as well be going on doing what you do.
So up until the point where you got addicted to meth, were you believing you were going to heaven?
Yeah, I thought I was saved and I was going and this and that.
Yeah.
And I got into heaven, got into that meth and did some terrible things in my life that I'm not proud of, but
yeah.
A lot of people go to rehab. And I went to the altar and I knelt down and I asked the Lord to say, help me. And I got up. I said, take this demon from me. And I got up. And I stopped for a minute. I said, wait a minute. That's not going to do it for me. So I turned around and I said, God, I'm not supposed to make deals with you. But I'm going to make a covenant with you.
A covenant? Okay.
I said, if I pick up a needle again and stick it in my arm with drugs in it, kill me. Right then, blow my heart out of my chest, kill me dead.
Yeah.
And everybody said, I told my pastor that, the lady said, well, what do you mean? God won't just kill you. I said, wait a minute, you're talking about the same God that killed almost two-thirds of his people he brought out of Egypt.
Yeah.
Because they were stiff-necked, wouldn't listen to him. And I said, the lady said, well, I might not. He might. I said, see, that's just it. I'm going to take a chance on might. And since I got up from that altar, I hadn't looked at a drug. I've had it put in my hands. I've had it all around me. People try to give it to it.
Yeah.
I won't do it. And I finally got to read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. And the thing was, when I got to Revelation this time, it didn't scare me.
Jesus what?
It didn't scare me. I wasn't scared of it like I was before.
Yeah.
Because before, I was going to be hearing a lot of that.
Yeah.
But now, I won't be here. I'll be gone.
So I was going to say, it sounds like you had a very healthy fear of the Lord, as far as like the pastor or whoever it is that said that he won't kill you, or maybe he won't.
But that was a lady in the church who said that.
So I think a lot of people would say, oh, God is loving. He would never do that to you, right?
But we also have a jealous God.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he wants us to do the things we're supposed to. And if it wasn't for Jesus, we'd all be in trouble. There's no way we could make it.
Yeah.
Because if we live, I got a buddy, he kind of between the Old and the New Testament. He wants to go back to the Old Testament. I said, look, you can't go back to the law.
Right.
I said, Jesus died to bring you away from the law.
Yeah.
I said, because there ain't no way you're going to live what the law says. There ain't no man on earth going to live like that. Yep. Gone. But since then, since I got in there, I've gone. I read the Bible in the morning, read it at night. And that's my food for my life. That helps me deal with all the crazy stuff I run into out here.
Yeah, yeah.
And trust me, cross country, up and down, you can see some crazy things.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's been a trip. So
you said that when reading through the Bible, you got to Revelations and you didn't have that you weren't, it didn't scare you the way it used to?
Yeah, last time I read it was years ago. And back before I was in drugs, I was married to a preacher's daughter. And he had me preach one time, and I preached on Revelation. But I fell asleep studying my Bible. I had a dream about it. It scared me to death. And that's been...
It can be scary. I mean, there's some horrible imagery in there, you know?
12, that's been 20 something, 30 something years ago.
Yeah.
I had never read Revelation again. I wouldn't read it.
Okay.
And then I went through the Bible. And I told my wife that I'm second marriage now.
Yeah.
And she's a godsend. And I got to Revelation. I called her. I said, "Uh-oh, she's what?" I said, "I'm at the end of the Bible, the Revelation. I don't know about it." And when I read it, it was not scary.
Yeah.
It was more feeling sorry for the people that hadn't accepted Jesus.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have a tough time.
Yeah. And it actually, I think Revelations was written for our comfort, believe it or not. The comfort being, even through all these difficult times, God is still in control.
Right.
That's where we find comfort as his children. But if you're not sure that you're one of his children, then it's going to be scary.
Yeah. Everybody, I see on TV, everybody talking about the end of time is coming, the end of time is coming. Mm-hmm. Well, nobody knows. Only God knows when the end of time is coming.
Yeah. Yeah, you can be sure someone's a false prophet if they're saying they know exactly when it's going to be. That they're basically saying they know more than Jesus. Because Jesus said, even the Son of Man doesn't know.
As bad as it's gotten now, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
That's what's sad.
Yeah.
And I just can't, I'm sorry, I'm fixing to be 61. I get in trouble all the time. I don't believe in same-sex marriages. I don't believe in saying, hey, I'm a guy and I'm a girl. No, you're a girl.
No, we're in a time when that was predicted, when it was predicted that bad will become good and good will become bad, and
right will be wrong and wrong will be right.
Right, and for us to say otherwise, that's what we're going to be persecuted for. Yeah. I think,
I just don't understand how these people go around, and I see them on different. I go to Facebook every now and then, and you'll see them jump up in people's faces, arguing with them about Jesus, about God, and.
As far as like Christians trying to share their faith, or people trying to argue with Christians?
Well, they argue with Christians.
Oh, okay.
They tell you he's not real, he's not real.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, okay, keep thinking that. You're going to find out it's going to be sad.
Yeah. I guess, so I talk to a lot of different people, and there are atheists who are like that, and they try to ridicule, the Christian faith. They're very blasphemous, very disrespectful of God, and, accuse God of many horrible things. And I guess for me, though, I do feel like at least they're thinking about it.
Well, they wouldn't be getting upset.
Right. So the problem with most of the world, though, is they're just indifferent. So like what's worse, to really hate someone or just really not care about them at all? And so that's what's, to me, that's almost harder is the people who just don't even care, and I know they're very distracted by the things of the world and can't even imagine it and don't even think about it, but it's kind of like a passive rebellion of just, if you ignore it, it'll go away kind of thing.
Well, people think I'm crazy when I say it every time. But when I went to the altar that day and I knelt down, I prayed, and got up, I didn't feel nothing right then. I went home. I'd get up every morning, sit on the side of the bed. I prayed God. And one morning I got up like 2 weeks, and I said, okay, God. I said, that has been too bad. You'd want.
That's what?
That been too bad of a person. I done been bad, done drugs, all this. I said, not being a good husband. I said, you don't want me. And just as clear as me and you sitting right here, I heard, son, I've loved you before you called my name. And I like to jump off that bed. I have a plaque to say beside my bed now that says, we love because he loved first.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have, in the 10 years of being in it, I have experienced healing. I had a heart stent and was supposed to go to the doctor to get it fixed. And I told him, I said, I can't let go to Friday. And he's like, you might make it to Friday. And I was coming down the highway at home. My wife, she was a traveler nurse, and she called me. She said, what are you doing? I said, I'm taking a nitro. And she said, you taking a nitro? Yeah, I'm taking a nitro. My chest hurts. She said, okay.
Nitro?
Nitro, nitroglycerin.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I hung up with her. She said, I'm gonna let you go without that drop your blood pressure. You might have trouble driving. So you know how nurses are, they like all the worst.
Yeah.
But then I heard, go to the church and get prayed for. This Wednesday, I looked over there and it's 7 o'clock. I said, ain't nobody at church on Wednesday at 7 o'clock.
In the morning or
at night?
At night.
You know, at the church, everybody like on Wednesday night that I could cut out.
Right.
Back home, get ready for work.
Yeah.
Well, I pulled up at the church. I put the car in the parking lot. I said, well, they just sitting there talking. And when I walked in, my pastor was sitting there at the end of the pulpit. And he was looking at me. He said, I've been waiting on you.
What?
And I like to fell out. I said, you've been waiting. I said, yeah, God said you someone was coming to get prayed for. And who walked through the door? And when I went up there, he anointed my head, started praying. I don't know if I can find the right, I can't find the real words I want. But something melted over my body like candle wax coming over me. Went from my head to the bottom of my toes, and I could have jumped through the ceiling of that church. I felt so good.
Wow.
And then when I went to the heart doctor, he said there wasn't nothing wrong. And I told him what I did. And he said, well, the doctor before me got to you. Talking about Jesus, your God got to me. But I had no problem.
Wow.
And the second thing I heard was in church. We were wall to wall. And the young lady went speaking in tongues. I've heard her speak in tongues before. And I knew what she was saying. And I'm like, wait a minute. And then another lady started over here. I heard what she said.
Were they saying anything that was helpful for you, or was it?
It was telling somebody, come now, this is your last chance. And you know, that's hard to say something like that in church.
Yeah.
But I said, I ain't saying that. And boy, he got a hold of me and shook me at the back of that church. I bellowed it out.
So you were
translator.
Yeah.
And I never knew I was able to. And later on, I talked to a young lady over here, and she was talking to me. I said, you speak in tongues some Sundays, but that's not for us to understand. That's you and God.
Yeah.
I said, but what you said this time was for me to understand. There's 4 other people in the church heard the same thing, didn't say nothing. I said, well, he didn't get a hold of you and shake you like he did me. But it was something.
Yeah.
And if people don't believe, how can you not believe in God? All you gotta do is take a trip from the East Coast to the West Coast and look at this country. It just didn't pop up.
No.
God created this beautiful country. It's a beautiful country.
Yeah. Do you find the faith of other drivers, truck drivers, is pretty strong, or what do you?
You'd be surprised how many out here are Christians. You'd be very surprised.
Yeah. I think it would be hard if you're over the road, like to be home on Sundays, to have a regular church attendance. But
see, that's why I got Facebook for our church. Puts it on Facebook, so I get to watch it on Facebook.
Yeah.
But see, I used to have them. Used to get mad at the foreigner people coming over, getting a truck given to them by the government. And then I'd see the pictures of their people on there with their machine guns and all that, and I'd get mad back there. Like, what is this? They just give them the terrorists and all that. And I was all wrong because I was talking to a guy in California. He could barely speak English. So this other man come up and he spoke for me. And he said that is his uncle and his father who died in the war against the Taliban. And boy, you talking about feeling. God had to show that to me to quit being mean to these people.
Oh, okay.
And that was his way of doing it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking they were like Taliban, but it wasn't.
It was the opposite of. They were fighting against
They had faith. That's just not like we put our father's picture on the side of a truck, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they were doing, and in honor of their death.
Okay.
And I learned something.
Yeah.
If you'll open your heart, your mind, Lord shows you so many things, do so much for you.
Yeah.
It's unreal. I could go on for hours, man. Don't get me fired up. Because he's done a lot of change in my life.
That's good to hear.
And I love
good to hear. So, getting back to the fear of the Lord, because I have heard, because it's the custom, or it's in style. People's views of God changes from one generation to another. So there's a generation where it was like God is wrathful and angry, and they kind of overdid it that way, and it neglected to teach that God is loving. And now I think we're teaching that God is so loving that people can't accept that he would love.
Before, the way I look at it, before Jesus came, we had a God, we had a fear. Because he didn't play around. Just like when he's bringing them out, he opened the ground, swallowed the whole congregation over there because they did what they did. And then he put the plague, all that.
All of that we learn from, right? Like even the Noah's Ark, like the earth was so full of sin that God, look what God did as a result. God definitely hates sin this much, that. And so it should cause us to take it even more seriously and take the sin of Israel more seriously, the one that led them to get swallowed up by the earthquake and the snakes, in the wilderness.
That's why I say if you lived in the Old Testament, none of us make it. We'd all be in trouble.
Right. But it's, like the same, and actually Jesus, this is what a lot of people, I think, get wrong, is they don't realize that Jesus actually taught more about hell and the punishment for sin than he taught about heaven, which is hard to believe because I think we have selective memory. Like we've read through the Bible and we only pay attention to the verses we like, right? Yeah. And so all we think about is how Jesus is loving and kind and merciful, but he loves God and he won't compromise on God's holiness, and so. But yet, he's the one who did the most to keep us from going to hell. Yep. Like that's where the cross comes in.
That's where you go from you have the fear of the Lord, but then Jesus came and laid his life down. And I'm not just talking about just went there and died. He went through ungodly pain and misery. Yeah. And died. Yeah. For us. Yeah. Now that's a love that none of us can ever match. No. That's where the love comes in. No. But you also got to understand Jesus is love. But if you don't listen to the love and love him back, you deal with the Father in his wrath. Yeah. Because he don't play around when it comes to sin.
Right. No, he doesn't. And so what I try to tell people is we have to begin with the fear of the Lord. That puts us in a right understanding of who God is and who we are, and we're not God, and so it begins with the fear of the Lord. That's the beginning of wisdom. But then later on in the Bible it says true love casts out all fear. And so that's what I've experienced is I believe God is a loving God, but it began with a proper respect for who he is.
What he can do. He can do it. He can snap of a finger and his world will be gone.
Yeah, exactly. If we get what we deserve, we like even for people to continue on in sin is an act of God is delaying our punishment, and that's an act of love. Like if we got what we deserve, like you say, we would be gone in an instant.
Because he didn't play in the Old Testament. In the New Testament, the Lord Jesus, he's got the love for us. He's got the compassion for us. Yeah. And the most Bible verse I have more people give me, I have trouble with trying to get them to understand. They want to read, it says, Wives, submit to your husband.
Yeah.
That means I'm the boss.
No,
And
I
I
don't
said,
think
well,
so.
come on down a little bit.
Right.
And then you know what you talking about? I said, husband, love your wife as Jesus loves us.
Yeah.
And can't me and you neither one could love like that. No
No.
one on earth can.
No.
And I told
Which means we need to be willing to give up our lives for our wives. You know,
you got
just like
they're
Christ
your
did.
protection.
Yeah.
You take care of them, but you're not to be on top of them like
Right.
this or that. No, you're not the dictator.
Right.
You're her husband.
Exactly.
And Jesus don't stand on top of us. He reaches down, picks us up out of the mud when we fall, dusts us, cleans us
Yeah.
up, puts us back up.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's the way I see it in my head. I'm from
God is
Mississippi.
good. Is that where you're from?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool, Chris. I'm gonna turn this off, but I'll after I turn it off, I want to know how I can pray for you. So okay, and then I'll give you like information where you can see this on
Nice.
YouTube. Eventually, it'll take me a day or two to put it up there, but
Nice.
okay. So.